I'm actually going to get started really fast because I got a lot to share with you, and I thank those of you showing up early and on time. You get to hear it right from the beginning, but let's dive into the training and start talking about 3 simple steps that I say will guarantee your success, right? Somebody asked me, Jay Madigan, who's in our community in here, he was like, oh, once you said guarantee, you had me. And I said, well, that's the simplicity of it, right? Is that if we do the right things the right way and enough of the right things, then we're going to have the success we want. And this is what I want for you. This is why you see me doing trainings like this. And this is why I say, that'll guarantee your success. If we do the right things the right way and enough of the right things, we're going to have the success that we want. It's not a secret. Success is there. It just takes hard work. I often hear people talk about, especially maybe people who are in my particular position, more training or talking to industry rather than the individuals within industry. But I hear people sometimes talk about how the federal market is complex. To understand the federal government is complex. And the reality is everything's complex. I've used this example in previous trainings where I went back and I started learning how to do wheelies and bunny hops and all this stuff on BMX bikes with my sons. I've got 11-year-old sons. And I was saying, learning that is complex. Learning to ride a bike is complex. Cooking for me is complex. I'm super proud of myself that just recently, like in the last few weeks, I have finally mastered the perfect steak. I've been trying to cook a steak for decades, and I just keep getting it wrong. That's why I go out to takeout a lot or somewhere to get a good steak, right? But that's just a steak where all you do is basically salt it, put a little oil down, and put it on the pan. But cooking, like when you start getting into more of the activities, some people are like, oh, this is, it's such a joy. It's moving around. And for me, it's like, oh my God, this is so complex. What the heck is a pinch or a dash or things like that, right? There's all this jargon that goes into cooking. Same thing with knitting or crochet or embroider. My sister used to embroider. If you know anything about Irish dancing, the girls always have these just really involved dresses. And she used to sew all these things by hand. My neighbor does knitting and crochet type stuff. Well, those needles, they're just murder weapons in my mind. They're really complex. And when you learn a little bit, then it goes somewhere else. And it's the same thing with fashion, right? I can do basic stuff like this, but if somebody sits there and says, oh, go to Nordstrom's and pick out a good outfit, I'm in a complex world. That's not a world that my brain kind of fits in. But I can learn these skills of cooking, for example, and you can learn the skills of government contracting. This is something I really want this message to drive home as I'm about to get into some of the details of government contracting that we need to pay attention to that are just a little bit more advanced than basic, but everything is complex until it isn't. Every single thing is complex until it isn't. It's confusing until it isn't, right? And government contracting is no different. It's no more complex than learning to cook or do a wheelie on a bike. Everything is complex until it isn't. And so I want to demystify that together with you and demystify what it takes to be a success in the federal market as a government contractor. I'm going to break down today's training for 3 simple steps to guarantee your success as a federal government contractor, especially when you look into 2026. I'm going to break it down into 3 ways. First thing I want to talk about is knowing your numbers, the first step, right? I want to talk to you about why knowing your numbers is vital to your success. Second thing I want to talk to you, or the second step, is going to be filling your sales pipeline. How many opportunities should you have in your pipeline? What should those opportunities look like, et cetera? We're going to drive into that topic. And then the third thing I'm going to cover down on the third step is submitting enough proposals. So if you know your numbers, fill your sales pipeline and submit enough proposals, then these are the 3 steps I'm recommending are going to guarantee your success going forward. I'm going to specifically tell you how many proposals I think you should be submitting monthly, and I'll give you my rationale around it. We'll have that conversation, but I'll give you the baseline. And as we go forward, feel free to take screenshots, et cetera. I don't send slides out. But what I'm about to talk to is things that I would be writing down if I was in your seat, writing down the questions I'm going to ask so that you can fill them in either now or later to make sure you have what you need to succeed. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonough. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you to have in 2026, right? And it begins today, by the way, in June 2025. That's how you have success in 2026. You don't wait until 2026. You start here on June 9th and you start moving forward for that success. If you haven't done so already, connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn so you can keep track of what I put out there. It's all valuable content to anybody who's in the federal market, especially government contractors. Check out the Government Contracting Success newsletter. I put out another article this morning. This article is really important for any minority-owned firms doing like 1 to 10 million. Morehouse College down in Atlanta, together with other universities and billion-dollar firms, they have an Ascend National program that you can check out. So go to the newsletter, check it out. But it's a fully funded, I should have a better term for it, but basically like an executive leadership team's cohort or coaching program over a course of 6 months, really driving towards success in government contracting. So that's a great program. I've actually supported it as a speaker for the last 2-3 years, where I go down and I talk about a particular portion. But they do all sorts of coaching for your business, talk about access to capital. It's for minority-owned business owners or companies. Okay, so let's move on into, let's get into moving or knowing your numbers. So in government contracting, we need to know our numbers if we want success. Really, in any goal you're trying to achieve, we break it down. Sometimes I call it reverse engineering from where you're at to what needs to be done to get there. Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, talks about begin with the end in mind. Your revenue goal for 2026 is the end in mind. I want to report to the IRS that I got $5 million. That's what I have here for today's example, right? I want $5 million. That's my end in mind. That's my revenue goal that I have for 2026. And again, remember, this goes all the way backing it up. You have to have that goal. The second goal, or the second thing you need to pay attention to before you even move too much farther, is you need to understand how much 2026 booked revenue your company has. People might use different terms. I just use booked revenue because it seemed the perhaps easiest of all the terms to understand. But the whole idea of it is right now, if you've got contracts, how much of that is carrying forward into 2026? And so my example is my existing contracts that I have here in 2025 are going to be worth $4 million in revenue next year. So I want $5 million. That's my revenue goal. And I know that $4 million of my 2025 dollars are going to continue forward. Option years, the customers are going to stay with me, et cetera. You need to know that number. That's the second number, because that will lead to the third number, right? This is why these numbers are important, because they all feed off each other. The third number you want to pay attention to is the net new revenue goal. This is really important. And I put ATCV, that's the annual total contract value. And I'll come back a little bit on that. But basically, your net new revenue goal is your booked revenue, or your revenue goal minus your booked revenue goal. So 1 minus 2, if you're looking at my chart. So my revenue goal is 5 million. My booked revenue, what's going forward, is 4 million. So I have 1 million left. That's my net new revenue goal. I need to get $1 million more out there. And so ATV is annual total contract value. This just means if I win a big contract from the government, it needs to be at least $1 million annual total contract value in order for it to meet my new revenue goal, or my net new revenue goal. Okay, so let's go to number 4. Number 4 here. Now I've got those goals in mind. I'm like, okay, I got net new revenue goal of 1 million. That basically is my annual total contract value goal. Before I go on to other dollar values, I need to know what's the average length of the contracts I win. Some of us, like I'm looking at David Foster here, who's supply and install lighting. His contracts might be more one and done type things, but I'm a service-based type company. My contracts are always 5 years. And so 5-year period of performance. That's what POP stands for. What's your normal period of performance on a contract? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Whatever it is, you write your number in. For today's example, we're going to say that it's a 5-year period of performance, 1 base year plus 4 option years. That gives me a 5-year contract. That's my normal period of performance for bullet number 4 there. Keep that one in mind. The next one that goes with that is, what's your win rate? Your win rate is just how many proposals do you submit and how many contracts do you get. and you divide one by the other and you got your win rate. So if you submit 4 proposals, but you win 1 contract, you're a 25% win rate, or you win 1 out of every 4 proposals you send over. If you have no other numbers yourself, use my number. Use 25%. It's a good number. It's a safe number. If you stick to your core competency and you're writing to opportunities that you should be able to win, now you're just going toe-to-toe with competitors. That's fine. You're not going to have a really good win rate if you're going after opportunities in all different aspects. You're not really focusing. The other thing to remember just really quickly about win rate is it's okay if it's like 1 out of 5, even 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. You just need to learn how to get it to 1 out of 4. I don't really think it's that realistic to go below 1 out of 4. When you think about how many hundreds and thousands of competitors you have going after the federal market, what's going on in there, the AI tools that enable people to write even more sophisticated responses, whatever that is, right? 1 out of 4 is a good number for me. If I can win every 4 times I compete, then I'm doing pretty good. I think somebody who might be smarter than me at baseball can tell you that I think if you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times, basically, you're like one of the best ball players out there. 30% hitting the ball makes you one of the best players out there, right? And some number right around there. It's not that far away from that. And that's the same thing here. Okay, so we've got our revenue goal, our booked revenue, and our net revenue. Then we had the two bullets 4 and 5 here, where you need to know your period of performance and you need to know how much you're winning. So number 6, bullet 6 here, is about your setting a total contract value or sales goal. So your sales goal, this is what you need to win from the federal government. And yes, to all my friends who like to be semantically correct or something, it is winning. If I get a contract from the government, the first thing I say is I won. If I don't get a contract from the government, the first thing I say is we lost, right? It is a win or lose game. There's semantics on what whether the government is playing a game in the first place, but it's a win or a lose, right? And so your sales goal, what we want to win from the government is $5 million. And hopefully you're following the way I do this. I'm saying the total contract value of the contracts I was awarded is also called my sales goal. That is just your annual total contract value. So bullet number 3 here, $1 million times your period of performance, bullet number 4. So bullet number 3 times bullet number 4 gives me the $5 million goal. If I win a contract and it usually is $1 million, or I need $1 million, then I need $5 million over a 5-year period. Does that, by the way, if that does not make sense, just say, hey, tell me more. And if I don't tell you more now, I will tell you more later when I write this maybe more clearly. But I'm hoping these numbers move forward, because if you just plug your own numbers in, you'll start figuring this out. So bullet number 6 is when we set our sales goal. I need to win $5 million in total contract value in 2025 to guarantee that I'm going to have that in 2026. I can keep selling it in 2026 if I need to, but generally the idea of sales is this year is for next year's revenue. This year's sales is for next year's revenue. All right, so we got a $5 million sales goal, number 6. Oh, number 7, I want to give you a quick rule. I call it a Neil's rule for no other reason, but no opportunity that's in your pipeline, no proposal opportunity that you're sending to the government, no opportunity can be worth more than the total contract value. So in bullet number 6, I said our sales goal is $5 million. What this means is I do not count a $20 million opportunity as a $20 million opportunity. In my pipeline and in my metrics, as I'm looking to say how much money can I predict for 2026, in my head or in our charts, right, I decrease the value of that $20 million contract to $5 million. In this reason, I'm being very conservative with my numbers. That way I don't put a $100 million opportunity in my pipeline and go, look how strong my pipeline is. I got, $1 billion pipeline value. Yeah, but you only got one opportunity. It's worth $1 billion, right? The chance of you winning it are 0. And so I like it to be whittled down. That way you can go after a $20 million opportunity. That's totally fine. But we're keeping ourselves honest and conservative more than honest. The idea here is these numbers we're putting down, this is our plan for reaching our goals for 2026. When you track numbers like this, you have a plan, then you have forecast, you have actual. So actual hopefully makes sense. It's what you see after the fact and you write it down. Plan is what I'm looking out for the next 12 months. I'm saying, hey, this is what we're doing, right? This many opportunities, this value, et cetera. And forecast, well, every month you can tweak it a little bit based on the reality, but your plan never changes. And the reason you do that is because if you are conservative like that, saying no contract or no opportunity is worth more than the total contract value I'm trying to go after or my sales goal, number 6, if no opportunity is worth more than that, then anything I win above that is just bonus. It's awesome. I far exceed my goals. And this is why it's really important. If you're going after something, don't shoot for the moon. If you're trying to get to the moon, don't shoot for the moon. Shoot for the stars and you'll land on the moon kind of thing, right? And it's the same thing here. Okay, number 8. Number 8 here is, so now I'm getting an 8 and 9 together. And basically what I said is, if I'm following these numbers, and by the way, don't read a lot into bullet number 8 or 9, because in the next 2 slides, I'm going to drastically change it. But this is your minimal goals that need to go out. The minimal number of proposals I need to submit are 4, because I win 1 out of 4 contracts and I'm sending it out. And the minimal number proposal value, total contract value, is 20 million. If I send out 4 proposals and they're each worth $5 million each, then I'm going to win 1, because that's what my 25% win rate tells me, and I will hit my goals. No one operates on minimum, right? Overwhelming effort into trying to go for your goals. You want to quadruple this. In fact, in a minute, you'll see how 12x this. But hopefully these numbers are making sense. So Bill, I see what you're saying, and we can have conversations in there. These numbers, though, take a screenshot of this one if you want. And then later on, write your own numbers in. Forget about 8 and 9 for 1 second, because you're about to get other numbers. Okay. Actually, let me back up. If you want a good screenshot, here's a little bigger one. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let me bring us back here and go to the next slide. So now let's talk about, so those are your numbers. You got to know your numbers. And the reason you want to know your numbers is because each one feeds to the next. You can't possibly know what you should be doing in sales if you don't actually know what your revenue goals are, right? And how big your opportunities are, or how frequently you win, or how much your win rate is, et cetera. So that's why you need to know it. But when you come to the proposals, well, how many proposals should I be submitting? And this is step 2 to guarantee your success, is know, what did I have here? Let me go back really quick just to make sure I say it the way I said it. Was it 3? So here, submit enough proposals was my goal, right? Let me go forward, build that. Okay, so 13, I think. All right, so how many proposals? You need to submit enough proposals. And this is what I meant by saying 4 proposals is not enough. 4 proposals is the very minimum, but that number is not even close to reality. That was just the number based on the numbers above. Now you need to really 10x your game. And this is my second recommendation to you on how do you have success in 2026. You submit enough proposals. You submit 4 proposals a month. By the way, if you are not at this stage, don't think I'm recommending you need to be at that stage tomorrow. This is where a mature company should be at on a steady clip, 4 proposals over and over again. If you're not there yet, then drive towards it. It might take you a month. It might take you 6 months to get there. But at some point, you're going to get there. And now you can keep this even clip of 4 proposals going out a month. And you can predict how much you're bidding on and when the award dates are. That's a whole separate training. But when the award dates are, because the award dates really help you predict when that revenue is coming in, when you need to hire people, all that other stuff, right? So I'm recommending that you do 4 proposals per month. You submit 4 proposals per month. Here's one major caveat in here. All of the proposals have to be around your core competency. You have to figure out what you're good at. My last company, we did Microsoft SharePoint. So that's what I mean. We would only have proposals going out the door that were related to Microsoft SharePoint. They could be prime contracts where almost all the work is SharePoint, right? Or they could be subcontracts where one task area was Microsoft SharePoint support services, something like that, right? Among a bigger contract. But get 4 proposals out the door every single month. And when you multiply that by 12, right, now you're pushing out 48 proposals annually. This is what I meant was 4 proposals was the minimum, but let's 10x or 12x that so that we're submitting 48 proposals. And if we are, and we win 1 out of every 4 opportunities that we bid on, then we're going to be winning 12 contracts a year, 12 awards every single year. What would winning 12 contracts a year do for you, right? This is a huge thing. And by the way, just to be completely candid, my last company, I wasn't doing this. I was going after opportunities. We were really good at SharePoint, so we knew how to go after and win stuff, but I had no idea of the smooth process or the smoothness that comes from the process. I could have done far better than the success I did have if I had been following the process that I'm telling you, because then we would have even zeroed down on it. So I don't want to act like, oh, hey, look how great it was. I've been teaching this process since 2018. I've been refining it and watching what works for people. And I've helped companies from all sizes, like 40 million on down, in that space. And they all have different areas that they are experts at, right? But it's the same pattern that if you get enough proposals out around what you're an expert on, the customers are going to buy from you at your win rate. So really think about that. What would 12 awards do for you in a year? If your average win rate is 25%, you're submitting 48 proposals, and basically you're submitting out whatever 5 million times 48 is. How would it be if you're bringing in $60 million in contract value, right? That's a massive number, especially if you're earning less than that. You could do the same math and just say bringing in $6 million if you're bidding out at like 500,000 or 100,000. The number has just changed, but the process does not. Okay, so sometimes this can seem overwhelming. I've done many trainings about do 4 proposals a month, and one of the reactions I notice and I watch is like, wow, that's so overwhelming. You're totally right. It is overwhelming if you don't have a process for writing proposals and getting out the door. But once you start getting good at writing proposals and responses related to what you are best at, your core competency, once you start getting used to that, basically the responses are 80% pre-written and 20% needs to be varied for the different customer. But your technical approach to doing Microsoft SharePoint is not going to change with any customer. We're very good at it. What will change is my understanding of what your mission is and how your people might be using SharePoint or something like that, right? But the thing is, even as you're trying to get to this stage, I'm not recommending you write 48 prime contracts. What I'm suggesting is you write at most 1 prime contract a month and you subcontract out 3. If you're brand new and you really don't have much experience, just be an expert at something and subcontract out for all 48. And when you subcontract out, somebody else is taking the big responsibility of managing the proposal and getting it to the customer. And you're coming in on this task area saying, I can do 10% of the work, right? And you just go after that 10% of the work. One of the ways you really want to think about how to do this, and I've taught this 100 times, is build strategic relationships. Strategic relationships are when you and the other company have a commitment to mutual growth. Not them saying, bring me an opportunity when you see it. No, we're a commitment to growing our relationship, growing our company and our opportunities and our revenue. And so a commitment to mutual growth. That's what that is. You want to have 16 strategic partners, 8 larges and 8 smalls. If you're a relatively new company, don't talk to the largest, just have 16 smalls. When I say go after smalls, I'm generally talking about 5+ million, right? When I say go after a strategic partner, don't go after a company that's like yours, that's just getting started, if that's where you're at, et cetera. You need to go after a company that's big enough that their opportunities that they are pursuing are, let's say, $50 million opportunities. So you can get $5 million or $10 million work share on that type thing. So build strategic partners. You can watch all my training. When you have 16 strategic partners in place, it only requires you to team up with them 3 times a year. Can you not build a strategic partner with somebody and team up on an opportunity, 3 opportunities a year, right? And maybe team up on 5 and 2 fall to the waste. The last thing I want to mention is that when I talk about doing 48 opportunities, I'm saying recompetes. This is something else, and this is a newer way of me saying this, but recompetes are almost about as predictable as any opportunity can be. If they paid for it before, they're probably going to pay for it again, and it's probably going to start exactly on this date. That's really good predictability. And so what I recommend you do is make all 48 recompete opportunities. That means you look at FPDS and you find the next couple of years and you bring them forward, right? And then any new opportunity, the government only basically has 2 opportunities, a recompete and a brand new requirement. Any new requirement, sure, go after it, but count that as number 4950 and count it as bonus revenue. Don't count on it as a main revenue, because most new requirements shift to the right. The dates keep moving, and it's hard for you to predict revenue for your company when the buyer keeps shifting when they're going to want the product or service. All right, so I'm running out of time. Let's get into how many opportunities that need to be in your pipeline. This is a huge deal because if you don't have the right amount of opportunities and the right opportunities in your pipeline, then you're not going to be able to win. So the first thing is, I'm suggesting that if you're going after 48 proposals going out the door, you need at least 96 opportunities in your pipeline. And that's assuming you're good at knowing what you sell and identifying the right opportunities to put into your pipeline to begin to pursue. So put 96 opportunities in, and 48 of them will eventually have a proposal, and 48 of them you'll abandon for various reasons, right? So that's just saying 1 out of every 2 opportunities you find, 1 out of every 2 of those will turn into a proposal. I just put this down. Oh, by the way, so that's only 6 per strategic partner. If you have 16 strategic partners, you just need to find 6 opportunities with them that'll eventually turn into 3 proposals going out the door. This is manageable. And I talk in a different training, many trainings, about how do you manage your time. But I just put here simple USA spending search. I said, show me contracts in 2024 that were new contract awards awarded to a small business. There was 2.6 million, and many of them are not related to what you do. But if there's 2.6 million, do you think it's that hard to find 96? The hard part is staying focused and committing to finding 96 that are in your sweet spot. Okay, make sure, speaking of sweet spot, that only slam dunk opportunities are going into your pipeline. If you put unrelated stuff to what you're good at in your pipeline, it slows your whole process down. You have to figure out how to write things differently. What's your approach? How do you recruit cybersecurity engineers when you mostly did help desk? Those are 2 different types of things. So make sure you're only focused on slam dunk opportunities in your pipeline. Those are opportunities you know you can win. The second thing is know your pipeline to proposal rate. I gave you a 50% rate, or 1 out of every 2 opportunities will become a proposal. That's the pipeline to proposal rate. And so know what yours is. Is yours lower than that? Is yours higher than that? When you know that, you'll know how many opportunities to put in your pipeline. And I don't mean put them all in today. At some point in the future, you will have 96 on an average 12-month cycle. Right? It doesn't mean go find 96 by the end of the week. I've had people do that, like telling everybody, hey, you need to go find 50 opportunities by the end of the month. It's like, it's just a bad exercise. Take your time. You will get to this stage where you have 96, and then all you have to do is add 2 or 3, or basically all you have to do is add 6 more a month. Okay, last thing on this slide is opportunities don't begin at the RFP. That's when the government says, let's buy. But the opportunities in your pipeline that I'm talking about, in the numbers that will lead to success in 2026, that means you have to shift left. You have to find these opportunities earlier. And because I said they're recompetes, just go find contracts expiring at the end of this year or expiring the beginning of next year. Find those and get them into your pipeline and start pursuing that. If you're only pursuing RFPs, you're just not going to have the success that I want for you. And I'm sure that you want for yourself. Okay, I know this is a fire hose. You can go back and watch the replay. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training. The first thing is you must know your numbers. Those simple numbers that I put in. I could have made it way more complex, but frankly, it just makes it more confusing. The second thing after you know your numbers is to protect your sales pipeline. That means only putting in slam dunk opportunities so that everything you do is operating at really good efficiency levels. And then number 3 is you must subcontract. Don't think you have to prime contract. Revenue is revenue. If you go after a prime contract, you get $1 million contract, that's $1 million in revenue. If you go after a contract, you subcontract, and they get $5 million and give you 1, that's $1 million in revenue. Subcontract, it is your fastest path, whether you're just starting or whether you're a $30 million company. It's your fastest path for growth because you get access to so many more opportunities where you don't have to be the lead. Hey, last 2 things. Tomorrow's training is here. I think you can see it. It's federal revenue flows. There's 3 ways to make money. Come learn what they are tomorrow or expand on that. And then I just want to let everybody know the GovCon Chamber Summer Summit is what we're calling it. We're still tracking on it. I just was bouncing around different activities, but join the wait list. It's coming up in July. Join the wait list so you can learn about it and register for that event. That event will be all contract office, program office type speakers in there from mostly DoD. And then last thing is just remember for all of this training that we're doing, right? Government contracting, it is not a secret. It's a process. I will see you in the next training.